Hey there friends, it's Laurie. I am so happy you stopped by. I'm sharing 3 new spring and Easter DIYs. I made a bunny in a patchwork pot, a spring butterfly welcome sign, and a cute Easter bunny carrot wreath. I did use mostly Dollar Tree supplies to help keep the cost down, and as always, I hope you have fun crafting with me, so let's get busy. Getting started, I'm using one terracotta pot out of this Dollar Tree 2-pack, and it measures just about 4 inches tall. I'm covering the pot in fabric. One piece is from the Dollar Tree and the others I had on hand. I'm using my pinking shears to give a decorative edge, but any scissors will work. The Dollar Tree fabric has a VW bus on the front, so I'm cutting the yellow fabric in between. I'm making sure all the edges are scalloped, and then I'm cutting them into smaller pieces. All of the pieces are irregular sizes, probably 1 to 1.5 inch, and I'm not measuring anything as I'm cutting. You can use any colors of fabric for this project. These are the colors that I chose so that they would go with my spring theme. I cut out about 40 pieces or so of the fabric, and I'm attaching them to the pot using some Mod Podge. Before I attach the fabric, I'm brushing on a generous amount of Mod Podge. I then place down random pieces of the different colors of fabric. When I was adding the pieces to the top, I did make sure to leave a little bit of an overhang so that I could fold the edges down later. As I was adding the cut pieces of fabric, I didn't have any set pattern or plan. I did make sure though that when I was near the bottom, I folded the fabric under so that I ended up having a nice neat edge. I kept adding on the Mod Podge and the fabric and worked my way around the pot. I finished adding on the fabric and made sure to fold over the top edges. I then let the pot dry completely. To make sure none of the edges lift, I then gave it a complete coat of Mod Podge. I'm going to set that aside and let it dry, and now I'm making the flowers for inside the pot. I found these 3 wooden flowers at the Dollar Tree, and I did notice one of the centers is cracked. But that won't matter because I'm pulling the circles off and leaving a small raised center on each of the flowers. To color coordinate with the fabric that I added onto the pot, I'm painting each of my flowers a different color: yellow, purple, and pink. I used acrylic paint and I painted both sides. Now that all 3 of them are dry, I gave the stems a coat of sage green acrylic paint. I want to give all 3 of my flowers a realistic look, so I'm using some yellow, pink, and purple flowers from the Dollar Tree. I'm using 2 of each color, and I'm popping out the centers. I'm pairing them with different colors. I'm adding the yellow to the pink, the purple to the yellow, and the pink to the purple. I'm attaching the silk flowers using my glue gun in the center of the wooden flowers atop that little raised circle. As I was adding the flowers together, I made sure to use my finger protector because the hot glue is present in the center holes on the silk flowers. I have 3 accent buttons, 2 yellow and 1 pink, and I'm attaching one into the center of each of my flowers. The pot has dried, and now I'm adding the flowers inside, but before I do, I need to cover up the little hole in the bottom. I cut out a round piece of cardstock, then used my glue gun to cover the hole. I'll be pushing the flowers into a piece of Sahara foam. This was originally from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just using a leftover piece from a past project. I added some hot glue inside of the pot and then pushed the Sahara foam down inside. The flower stems are a little too tall for the pot, so I snipped a bit off of each one. I then decided their placement and spaced them evenly in the pot. My bunny needs to jump into greenery, so I'm using some from the Dollar Tree. All these pieces were basically left over from past projects. There are different textures, sizes, and styles, and you can pretty much use anything. I randomly added mine into the pot, filling in the open spaces. I'm adding one of the bunny bottoms to the front of the pot, but the problem is I only had the bunnies with the blue accents, and that didn't work with all my colors. I didn't have a pink paint pen, but I did have some pink acrylic paint, so I used that and filled in the little parts of the feet. I added some hot glue to the front rim of the pot and attached down the bunny. To give my bunny ears, I'm using one of the Dollar Tree Easter Bunny headbands. I snipped off the bottom of both sides about 3 inches or so. I removed the plastic inserts and then found the bunny's ear placement inside the pot. I then added in some hot glue to help hold them in place. Now that I'm done, this cute bunny in a patchwork pot is the perfect piece of decor for spring and Easter. I'm popping in to let you know that today I'm participating in my monthly friend collab group. It's being hosted by my sweet friend Liana from Liana DIY. This month we have 2 guest hosts, Crafting with JC and Crafting with Indie Annie Jones. All 3 of these ladies have amazing crafting channels, and you can check them out along with my other crafty friends. I'll have the playlist linked below. If this is your first time stopping by, please consider clicking on that little red subscribe button below and leaving me a thumbs up. To all my returning friends, I think you're the best, and I can't wait to chat with everyone down below in the comments. To make my butterfly welcome sign, I'm starting with one of the wooden hanging circles from the Dollar Tree. It measures just under 12 inches. I removed the hanger and now I'm giving it a coat of sage green acrylic paint. Now that it's dry, I want to distress the edges, so I'm using a sanding block and lightly working my way around. As the focal point for my sign, I'm using a Dollar Tree butterfly. It measures approximately 6 inches long and 7 inches wide. I removed the hanger and the tags, and I wasn't sure if the color would bleed through my scrapbooking paper, so I gave it a coat of white acrylic paint. I let it dry completely and then painted the edges with my light purple acrylic paint. I'm covering my butterfly with this pretty spring floral scrapbooking paper. I placed the butterfly on top of it and then sketched around it with my pencil. I gave myself plenty of extra room and didn't sketch directly against the butterfly. I cut it out and now I'm using my Mod Podge to attach it. I first added a generous amount to the top of the butterfly. I placed down my cutout and then used a burnisher to remove any of the air bubbles. I let it dry completely, and now I'm using an X-Acto knife to remove the excess paper. I want to add some extra flowers onto my butterfly, so I cut some out of the same paper. I first added Mod Podge to the back and then randomly placed them. Now that I have the added flowers in place, I'm giving the butterfly a complete coat of Mod Podge on the front and the sides. I'm using some Dollar Tree jute to make the butterfly's body. I'm using about 30 inches or so and starting by attaching one end on the butterfly's back. I then started wrapping the jute around. I did my best to keep it as straight as possible. When I came to the end, I attached that on the back and then added some hot glue to help hold all the jute together. I'm making the butterfly's antennae using an 18-inch piece of floral wire. I slipped it under the jute and then pulled the two wires up to the top, making sure they were even. I turned the butterfly over and added some hot glue on the back to help hold them in place. To give the antennae a little curl, I wrapped each of the wires around a pencil. I want my butterfly to sit flat on the sign, so I need to make up the difference in the thickness of the jute. I found these two small beads at the Dollar Tree and they're the perfect size. I added 2 dots of E6000 on the back and attached the beads. I'm adding an accent onto the butterfly and I'm using one of these small wooden stars from the Dollar Tree. I painted it with the same sage green acrylic paint. I added some hot glue onto the center of the jute and placed down the star. I'm attaching the butterfly to the sign, adding E6000 onto the 2 beads and the center jute. I centered it low on the sign and in between the 2 hanger holes. To add on the word welcome, I'm using some wooden letters that I picked up at Walmart. I used my purple acrylic paint and painted the letters in the word welcome. I first found their placement on my sign and then used my E6000 to attach them. While the glue was setting up, I cut 8 of the different size flowers out of the same scrapbooking paper. I first found their placement on my sign. Once in place, I then used my Mod Podge to attach them. In the center of each flower, there is a small dot of color. I'm using the end of a paintbrush and I'm covering those dots with the same purple paint that I painted the word welcome in. I decided to do this because it gives the flowers that extra pop of color. I made sure the paint was dry, and then to seal it all in place, I gave it a coat of Mod Podge. To finish up, I'm adding a hanger onto my sign, and I'm using this pretty purple with white polka dot ribbon. I decided how long I wanted my hanger to be. I slipped both ends through the hanger holes and made double knots on the back. This was so easy and inexpensive to make, and the perfect way to welcome spring. To make my Easter wreath, I'm starting with one of the 14-inch wire wreath forms from the Dollar Tree. I need something to attach the carrots to, and while I was there, I found this orange steering wheel cover. It's not an exact match to the color of the carrots, but it will definitely work. It fits snugly on the form, but to make sure that it doesn't move, I ran a line of hot glue around the support on the back. For the carrots, I'm using 5 2-packs of these Dollar Tree fabric gift bags. I found mine in the Easter department. I want to give all 10 a little substance, so I'm using some polyfill that I had on hand. I used a small amount and stuffed each of the carrots. As you can see, I didn't add in much, just enough to fill out the bottoms. To keep the polyfill inside, all of the carrots come with drawstrings, and all I did was pull it tight, but not too tight, and I just tied it off with a double knot in the back. I then snipped off the extra ties with my scissors. All 10 carrots are ready, and now I'm finding their placement on the wreath form. As I'm placing them down, I'm slightly overlapping them. I'm also making sure that the top of the carrots match up with each other. Happy with their placement, I'm now hot gluing each to the form. I added some hot glue on the bottom and then a little bit on the side of the carrot so I could attach them together. I'm adding a sign onto the front of my wreath, and I have 2 Dollar Tree signs. I really like the hippity hoppity one, but when they attached the bunny's head to the hanger, the staples made bumps in the front. So what I decided to do was use the hippity hoppity words and the bunny head from the Happy Easter sign. I removed the bow from the bunny's head. I'll be adding on something different. Before I attach them, I like to find their placement on my wreath. I'm now adding some hot glue to the back of each and attaching them to the carrots. As accents, I'm adding on 3 Dollar Tree daisies and 2 small daisies to cover the hanger holes. I already had those on hand. I added a dot of glue over each hole and then popped the daisies inside. After placing the 3 larger daisies on the front of my wreath, I used my hot glue gun to attach them. I'm making a really simple bow for the bunny, and I'm using some of the burlap ribbon from the Dollar Tree. I'll be attaching it together with a piece of floral wire. I'm folding over about 3 inches of ribbon, holding it in the middle and then folding the other side over to match it. I gave it a little pinch in the middle, then wrapped my floral wire around it and twisted it tightly in the back. I then cut off the extra ribbon and the wire. I added some hot glue where the original bow was and attached the new one. I'm actually adding carrots onto the carrots, and I'm using 8 from these Dollar Tree packs. I added hot glue to the back of each carrot and attached it to the carrots on the wreath. To make the bows, I'm using a Dollar Tree green and white gingham ribbon. I'm making 9 simple bows, one a little bit larger than the other 8. I'm attaching the largest one in the center of the bunny's bow. I'm attaching the last 8 bows, one on the top of each carrot green. With all the bows in place, my hippity-hoppity Easter wreath is complete, and I can't wait to hang it on my door. Here we are at the end of the video, and if you've made it this far, thank you so much, and I hope you had fun crafting with me. Please be sure to check out the playlist, and if you're new to my channel and you're thinking, hey, I'd like to come back and hang out with her again, don't forget to click that little red subscribe button below. I hope you have a safe and an amazing day, and until next time, bye everybody!